Basically, I've been in business for over 20 years. I'm third generation businessman. My grandfather, my father, and me. And I was doing a lot of projects, and I was noticing all the issues with money, with different groups and stuff like that. And so that's what kind of got me on this path with this, because when I started to research this more, I started to see how people could benefit from this. So then, I just, started to research, this more. So this is part one. I actually broke this into 3 different parts. I'm probably not going to do all 3 parts tonight, but I will open this up to you. You guys will have the opportunity to take part of all 3 parts, for free. Okay. So history of financial slavery. These are the different things that came into effect that kind of, brought this to where we're at right now. The Cesta KV Act of 1666. You can Google this stuff and find these acts, and you can read them. The Cesta KV Act was basically an act that was created in 1666 in England, and it established that everybody was lost at sea. There was fires and wars and stuff going on in Europe, and they were trying to find a way to leverage the loans with the people. And so this was one of the ways that they came up with this. And it's still in effect today. The Civil War, essentially was when, yes, it was the emancipation, but it was also because once they got everybody into citizenship, then they could use us. Then they could put us into financial slavery. And so the whole Civil War and the 14th Amendment was designed to make everybody a citizen so that they could benefit from it. After the Civil War, they created the Trading with the Enemy Act was essentially where Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, was the United States, and all the land around that and all the people around that were foreigners, and it was on foreign land. So they created an act, was essentially was the Trading with the Enemy Act is what allowed them to put us into commerce, so that they could use that to control us, to make us pay taxes, and so on, which led into the Revenue Act of 1913, which was the where they created the Federal Reserve, and they created the IRS through a trust in Puerto Rico, and then in 1933 is when they took the gold away. HJR 192, which is probably the most popular thing that we kind of discuss in this, is essentially where they ruled in the idea that because in the Gold Reserve Act of 1933 that they took the gold and silver away, that because we don't have any money, that all debts have to be paid. So because we are a obligation of the U.S. government, everything is paid. And so like that's kind of where we start to come back into essentially not being as much of a slave anymore, is when the government has to take care of all that. Now, hold on a second. I think I got some. All right, all the new people, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So this page here, I was just telling everybody, these are the things that I researched and that I found that these were the things that kind of, went from, coming from England to becoming a financial slave, and then HJR 192 is where, you know, Roosevelt basically said that because there is no money, all obligations of the U.S. government are paid, which is us. So citizenship, before the Civil War, there was no citizens. 13th Amendment freed the slaves. 14th Amendment created citizenship. After the Civil War, everyone was property. Every person born with a birth certificate is U.S. property. I was in a group the other day, one of these Zoom meetings, and they were talking about, like, you know, with, you know, sometimes with the, you know, with this child support stuff and, you know, things like that, about, you know, where does the jurisdiction come from? Well, when you have a child and you sign the birth certificate, that's when you gave them jurisdiction over that child. And so, like, that's just one of the many things that we have to break in order to get into equity, which I'll get into that a little bit later. I'm not trying to dig into stuff, you know, too deep. But that's essentially where the citizenship came from, and, you know, and the birth certificate. The birth certificate is where they create a bond in your name, and that's what they use to offset, you know, basically all the obligations that you create. Here is where I dig into the, you know, the first step. Nobody told me any of this stuff. Again, I was just saying this earlier, is I had to figure all this stuff out. I was kind of like doing things. I was doing like secured party, and then I was doing status correction. And like all of a sudden I was sitting there and I didn't have a birth certificate in front of me, you know, and because nobody told me that I had to do all this. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. So the first major step in this is getting the long form of your birth certificate. Now, not every state calls it that, but this copy of my birth certificate that you're looking at here, this is not the long form. That is the copy that I've been using for, I don't know. There is no number on it. It just says 148, and then it's got a bunch of chicken scratch, and then it says 223, and there's no like real clear number on that. So what you want to make sure is that you get the actual long form of the birth certificate so that it's got your number on it. And I've discussed this earlier a little bit, but that number will be 3 digits, then a dash, then 4 digits, which is the year you were born, then a dash, and then some people's have 6, and the sequential number is sometimes 6 and sometimes 5. Now I'm going to get into like finding your CUSA in a little bit. But essentially those are the numbers that you need to kind of find more information on this stuff. So once you get the birth certificate, you want to send it off to the Department of State and get it authenticated. When I first started this, like, people were throwing this State Department thing at me, and I had no idea. I actually, the first time I did it, I sent them $30 and this thing, and they sent it back because it's not, you know, when I got the long form, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. It actually has the seal, the raised seals, and it's got the red number on the bottom, just like your Social Security card has that red number on it. Okay. And so that's the one that needs to be authenticated. I've looked at, you know, I've discussed this with somebody, some people, and I've looked at some states like Florida. There's no distinction. It's just one birth certificate. And, you know, where some, like the one in Wisconsin, there's probably 10 different choices that you can choose from. And so it may take a few times, but you just need to make sure you get the long form. You need to make sure it's got all the numbers on it. Once you get that, you can use the number off the birth certificate to research bonds on fidelity.com. There are a plethora of ways to find CUSIP numbers, and you have more than one. Okay, but the one that's important is the one that's attached to your birth certificate, because that's the one that banks and courts use. So this one is a copy of the long form. So you can see there's a state filing number, legacy filing number, and then at the bottom here, this where it says bond number, that's the red one. That's just like it's not the same number as my social security card, but it's red. And that's because that's your body number. So the flesh and blood number will be in red. So that's what's at the bottom. That's what I've been told. I haven't used either the red numbers for anything. So I don't have enough, experience with that. But this up here where it says legacy state filing number for Wisconsin, that's the number that I use to find mine. Okay. So this is a copy of the request for authentication from the Department of State. I'll leave this up here for a minute. If you guys want to jot down, or you might be able to click on it. Again, I'm new at this, so I'm not really sure, but you might be able to click on this. This will bring up this form that you can fill out and, print off and send in. Does anybody at this point have any questions, and am I going too fast?
I think you did pretty good, Kent.
Okay.
You're doing great, Kent. Excellent delivery. Appreciate you, man. Keep going.
Okay. So, yeah, so this is the form for this part. And if you want me to, after we're done, to send you this PowerPoint so that you can get a better look at all this stuff, I'm fine with it. I'm doing this for everybody. This is for the people. This isn't for me. All right. So this is how I did it. Okay. So the first thing you do is you go to fidelity.com. I use this on my phone to take screenshots, but it seems to be a little easier to do this on your computer. So you have to open an account, right? You don't have to get a bank account, but you have to be registered on the website. Okay. And then you log in, and then you go over to these little marks over here, and then you go to quotes. And then you'll get to a page similar to this, and this is where you put the numbers in. Now, I had to do a whole bunch of, it took me like 2 days of fucking around with this until I got something to come up. Okay. And then once I did have something to come up, okay, then you will get this number, and it's probably got like 5 letters at the top. And I'll be honest, when I first started doing this, I thought it was bullshit. I was like, there's no way. It just when I did get it to come up, I really didn't believe it. I'm a huge naysayer. I will prove myself wrong before anybody else. Okay. So I got to the bond signifier, and then I was looking at it, 119 million. And then when you go to the next page here, it shows the gross assets. At this point, it was 737 million. This is just one bond. This is just a birth certificate bond. So I didn't trust this. So once I got the signifier and once I got the CUSIP number, I went and I started to cross-reference it. And when I did the cross-reference, immediately what came up was a fund out of Wisconsin from 1985. So what I'm saying is, what are the odds that I'm from Wisconsin and I put my birth certificate number in there and a bond came up and it just happens to correlate with a fund from Wisconsin from 1985. So to me, that's kind of about as close of an indicator that this is the real deal as I needed. So I know that I've talked to a few other people that have used some other processes to find different CUSIP numbers and stuff. And like, I know there's other ways. This is just what I did. So then once you get your signifier, you go to here, you go to products, fixed income, bonds and CDs, and then you have to choose funds, and then you put in your bond signifier there, and then you'll come up with your it's more information on that, and that's when you're going to see your CUSIP number. And that is the number right there that I cross-referenced and came up with the fund from Wisconsin. So, you know, there's to give you an idea, and this isn't like, in my opinion, this isn't something to really like be concerned about when you're, you know, about the money. The only reason that I'm like correlating the money with all this, so you can understand how free you can be. Okay. So this is just one bond of 720. This one says 729.74 million. Okay. So I've had a couple people tell me that they did some kind of an audit, and the actual number of their account had 46 zeros behind it. So I don't really think that there's any limit to what this can be. So, you know, this is something to use, you know, like for me, there was never been an interest of me getting all this money. The only interest I have is, how can I use this to become more free? How can I use this to make my family more free? My daughter and my grandson. How can I use this to help my fellow Americans be more free? Right. And that's been my biggest concern with this is that how can I do that? And not only, you know, not only how can I do it, but how can I do every single thing that everybody tells me to do out there, so I can bring a process to people that works, so they don't have to jump through flaming hoops and trying to figure out whether they're talking to a treasury agent or not. So CUSIP number, all court cases use your CUSIP. All banks use your CUSIP. All courts are banks. All judges are actors or bankers. Every person that has a birth bond has a CUSIP number. Before you get in too deep to anything, get this Black's Law Dictionary. You can download a free copy. I bought the 11th edition because I like having a hard copy of stuff. But just so you got this, if you get doing any of this paperwork and you don't understand what a word means, look it up. You don't know what sureties are? Look up surety. See what Black's Law talks about sureties. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever the thing is that you're doing and somebody's talking about it, like equity, you know, people throw equity around a lot right now. So look it up, you know, look it up and try and understand it. And then when you get reading about it, you get reading about equity or whatever, there's going to be some stuff in there you don't understand. So start looking those words up. You know, don't let, the whole reason that we are considered minors is because we let lawyers and judges and people like that tell us what this stuff means. Don't let anybody tell you what this means. Look it up. Look it up, research it, and understand this material to yourself, because the whole way that you become free is by being able to use this material to be free. You have to be smart in yourself and smart in the law. So that's the Black's Law Dictionary. That's my take on it. Here's some of the stuff that you'll find in there. Person, corporate fiction, no body. Natural person, human being with a body. Bond is debt, contract between two people. Surety, contract between three people. Indemnify is a guarantee. Corp, like corporation, corpse. Oration, to orator, speak. So corporation literally means talking dead. Credit equals life. Debt equals death. Black ink is death, blue ink is contract, red ink is alive, purple is trust. So these are just some of the things that I researched that I wanted to share with everybody. But like, don't, I wouldn't stop. Like, I'm just constantly looking things up because I want to know what it means. So military admiralty tribunal. All courts fly the gold fringe flag. Daniel J. McCann versus Ronnie Greenway. All courts are a ship and dry dock. All courts are banks to extort money from you. You are a cash cow. Every time you go into a court, speeding ticket, anything, they take out bonds, millions of dollars in bonds on you. Here is a link that you can kind of educate yourself on how this is an actual article that talks about that courts are vessels in dry dock. There is a story that I heard about. Now, I'm not trying to get in flat earth, round earth, whatever. There's just a story that it came from Buzz Aldrin. And he said that, yes, when we saw the earth, we saw it, and it was a vessel in a sea of space. So that quote right there is essentially why they think they have power over you, is because they think the earth is a vessel. Okay, so research this stuff. Don't take my word for it. This is a great article. So here talks about Daniel McCann, the plaintiff, versus Ronnie Greenway. Where it talks about the flag of stars and the gold fringe, gold and yellow, rope and braid, or gold on top of the flagpole placed on the bar to bribe the proper parties into the bar. That is not an eagle. That is according to David Wynn Miller, that's a phoenix. And the phoenix is the symbol of, I think they would consider that graven images, and that's the symbol of the Vatican. Okay. Not limited to the deprivation of all U.S. constitutional rights. This maritime flag of war is used with the intent. Hold on, with the intent, as the proper authorities charge any one of the defendants titled above to date with the deprivation of rights under color of law. Titled 42, 1983 chapter. So just, these are all referred to here. Read these laws. If you don't understand what these laws, then your Black's Law Dictionary out and learn. Okay. So we'll keep going. This is an actual picture of a U.S. District Court, and it looks exactly like a ship. Okay, I've seen this. I've seen this in pictures, and this is like one of the most, they're not even trying to hide it. So every court without a jury is an administrative court for the legal fiction commerce, offering a dispute resolution service for consenting parties. It conducts commerce in the International Admiralty Maritime, is the law of the sea. Admiralty Maritime Sea Jurisdiction, law of the sea, has invaded the common law and jurisdiction law of the land, entering ports and extended via rivers and lakes. Therefore, freight carried on land, water is shipped. It is transported through the loading at docks and seaports and airports. Administrative courts reflect their maritime roots with the layout and fittings. The courtroom is divided in two parts. The barriers, known as the bar. I was in the Navy. Like all these terms like come right back to me from my time in the Navy. They used to say, "Approach the bar, approach the bar." Yeah. A lot of this stuff is repetitive. So then your straw man, if you don't have this book, Meet Your Straw Man, it's very good. It's not very long. You can get it on Amazon. Here's a copy of the 68 KV Act. When you're reading this stuff, you're going to have to look up because I had to do it to understand what it says. So it's very interesting. You can Google this and find this. So Social Security Trust created birth with your birth certificate. You're the beneficiary. Your birth certificate is a stock certificate. Treasury invests money in benefit. Declares you as an infant, fiction, makes you indigent of yourself, makes cops, courts, and banks your executor. If you are an infant until you declare your entity and ownership. U.S. taxation. This goes through the stuff again that I talked about earlier. And 16th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, none of them are ratified. They were false. It was falsely declared that they were ratified. In 1985, there was a court case where the person won. The judge ruled that the 15th and 16th Amendment was not ratified, and the IRS commissioner put out a letter saying that they have to return everybody's taxes. So that was in 1985. So again, when I give you this, you can research these laws and read about this stuff so that you understand. So here's the letter. Basically, it's, it says on March 5th, 1985, charge of tax evasion was dismissed. And it was basically said the 16th Amendment wasn't properly ratified. And then at the bottom here, I'll send you this. It tells you how to get your taxes back. Okay, because the commissioner said, we got to return everybody's taxes, and this is how you do it. So, a bunch of us are in the process of doing this for both, state and federal taxes. And so if anybody wants more info on that, don't hesitate to ask. So here's the end of it. This is not intended to be legal advice. It is intended to be informational purposes only. And this is just the stuff that I've acquired on this first part. And so, yeah, that's kind of the end of it. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
Hey, Kent,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is this: as far as concerning Fidelity, Fidelity has a variety of different accounts to open up. Which one did you recommend?
Well, I tried a bunch of different places, and the Fidelity is the only one that I could get that just didn't ask for, like, Schwab wanted to know everything.
No, I understand what you're saying, but when I'm talking about Fidelity, I'm saying on Fidelity, I'm looking at it has saving, retirement, investing and trading, crypto trading, spending and saving, self-employed.
Well, to find your CUSIP number, you don't have to do any of that.
So what account did you open up on Fidelity? That's what I'm asking.
Oh, you don't open an account, you just register.
Okay. So I'll get ready to open it. But you say
Once
open
you're
an account.
registered, then down the road you can open an account, because that's what I did. I have 3 of them with them now.
So you just registered, because I'm on their page and I'm trying to see where you can just register.
Yeah, it's a little complicated to figure that all out, but it's on there.
Okay, that's all I had.
Yep, no problem. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. When you first sent in your birth certificate to get it authenticated, what was that process like, and how long did it take before you got a response?
6 months. I haven't got it back
Okay.
yet. I'm told 6 months. I didn't get mine back. I just sent mine in for the passport without it authenticated, because it was authenticated from the state. Wisconsin authenticates it.
It took me about 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months.
Yep.
Only because you have to authenticate it at the state level and the federal level.
Wisconsin authenticates it. Is that the state of Virginia would authenticate it, and then the federal government?
That's correct.
Yeah. When you order the long form, it's authenticated from the state.
Okay.
And then you get it notarized, and you can get an apostille too. So there's a lot of ways to, like, get it done on the state level and then send it in for your passport.
Now, when you say order the long form, exactly what does that mean?
You just got to go to the vital records
Uh-huh.
and for your state, and then you have to put in if they don't have a choice for long form, it's probably already a long form. Like Wyoming, they don't have a choice. It's just long form. But in Wisconsin, you have to ask for it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in Virginia Commonwealth. I believe I have a long form. But I'll probably PM you a picture of it, and maybe you could just confirm for me.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's fine.
Okay.
Ken, if I might chime in here, when you guys,
Yeah, go ahead.
when you guys apply for these authenticated birth certificates, you need to make sure that you're choosing a non-Hague country. Non-Hague cannot be part of the Hague Convention. So I chose Taiwan. Just go with that.
Note taken. Thanks.
Yep.
I did Egypt, I think.
Yeah, just as long as it's not part of the Hague Convention, you're good.
So just trying to find. So both Suzanne and Chris McHale they're both on the same direction as I am. That's why I want them to be here. They have a plethora of knowledge too. They have some different experiences than I have. So they can chime in, or you can, if you guys want to ask any or comment on anything, go ahead. We're all here to help each other.
That's basically it. Same. Whatever information I find and I put to good use and test it and can duplicate it one time, I share with anybody who will listen.
Ditto here, and you can PM me whenever you want.
I have a question. Well, first of all, thank you all for this. This is so bomb. I appreciate it. Much gratitude. Now, with authenticating the birth certificate, and if you're trying to operate in the private, like completely private, wouldn't that be another contract? Like, would you only need to authenticate your birth certificate if you are trying to travel, maybe come back to the United States? Or this is what I'm not fully understanding. So
My understanding is that it's a process. So, you just can't like dive right into private. You have to do a few things to get yourself in a position where you can do that. And you can't do that until you have an authenticated birth certificate, either on the state level or on the federal level. And the birth certificate is what ties you to the Sesta KV trust. So you really don't want to, like, I don't know, I'm not trying to say what other people do or don't want to do, but for me, like, I want to utilize the environment that's in front of me. I'm trying to get in the private, but I don't want to like be separated from that. Because I want to use it, because, whether we like it or not, we're in a world of commerce, and there's just things that we have to do. And so for me, it's kind of a process of eliminating things when they can be eliminated safely, and, not end up, I know people that have, well, I don't really know, but I've heard stories of people that have lost everything, that have disconnected themselves from everything. And, it's just not something I'm interested in. So.
when you say lost everything, are you referring to like people who have gone down this road, or?
No, they went to a court and they demanded the court tell them what was in the trust.
Okay. Yeah.
And that means you're operating as a trustee, and then you are no longer the beneficial owner. And so,
Not only that, but you're putting the cesta Q in public, on public record when you're going to the court and doing these things. So they're watching you. If you're going to operate in the private, you operate in full privacy, which means you don't even operate through the courts. So when you realistically authenticating the birth certificate just calls them out on their fraud. That's really it. And then if and when you decide you're going to do private banking, you utilize that authentication for such purposes. But in the meantime, you're just basically stating your claim to that title, which is what the birth certificate is. The title to your state.
Okay, I guess maybe there's different processes, because I guess the process that I've been learning about is the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code. And what I'm understanding is once I get my trust, then I claim the straw man. Then the trust claims the straw man. And then I can start coming for anyone who has unlawful rights, or not unlawful rights, who are, who has a claim, who has a claim on file to what I am the holder, or the trust is the holder in due course for. I don't even know if, I'm thinking I'm saying it right.
So the thing that I'll say about that is this, is that the UCC process is part of another process. Like it's just a portion of it. Okay. So to do the full secured party creditor process, which uses the UCC as part of it, there's almost 40 documents that you have to, not that you have to, that are a part of that in the process that I'm doing. So sometimes people will simplify them 40 documents into like one document that does a bunch of different stuff. But the thing is that the UCC part is just a small portion of that. And so if you're interested in my next two videos, one of them is on status correction, the other one is on secured party creditor process. So when we get into video or number 2 and number 3, then I can share with you more in detail about that. But before you get to that, you got to do this birth certificate thing, and you got to find your CUSIP number, because you can't do anything else until you do that, in my opinion.
And guys, don't get caught up in processes, because those don't work. You want to do what's right for you, what you feel in your gut intuition works for you and is going to work for you, because some people go down the consumer law route and they stick with that, and some people go the equitable route. And then there's some people that kind of swing back and forth, which I don't recommend, because that's commingling jurisdictions. So you either want to stay in the consumer law realm, or you want to go to exclusive equity or whatever people call it. I myself dabble in only equity. I did consumer law for a while. It didn't work for me, so I'm in equity, and I like it there. So you just got to do what's right for you and how you feel. Don't follow anybody else's process. You can learn from everybody else, but eventually you're going to fall into your own journey, and you're going to get there. Don't get caught up in processes.
Yeah, this is why I haven't really taken action. I'm just now in the process of getting my trust done, but it's so much. It's just now clicking to me. Like just now when you just said that, commingling. I've been seeing it in the chat, commingling. I had no idea. Well, I guess it was coming, everything. I'm learning this over here, I'm learning this over there, and I'm keeping up with these chats, and then I'm doing my own studies, and it just dawned on me what commingling is. So I appreciate this. Yeah.
Yeah. I started like Suzanne. I was more in the other side, and then I'll just share you with you a story. And so I was in I put that document on the record, the willful, my list of fees, and the lawful claim and title, will, execution of will, declaration of status. I put that on the record. And then I was out in Oregon, and I had dismissed an employee. He got pissed off at me, so he called the cops and told them that I drive without a license. And so I was waiting for this cop to show up, and it was taking forever. It was like an hour, and I still hadn't heard from him. So I called him, and I was like, "Hey, this is, Ken Stark. I'm told that you're coming out here, blah, blah, blah. What do what's going on? Are you coming or not? Because if you're not coming, I'm leaving." And he's like, "Oh, no, no, I'm coming. Can I get your birth date?" I was like, "Yeah." So I gave it to him. And he was like, "Okay, I'll be there in a little bit." And he showed up there, and he looked at the kid, and the kid did his whining or whatever. And then he heard him out. And then he comes over to me, and he looks at me, and he says, "Mr. Stark, is there anything else you require of me?" And I stopped, and I was like, "No, sir, I just want to make sure that he stays off my property and doesn't steal anything or whatever." He's like, "I assure you he won't. I ask you again, is there anything else you require of me?" And I said, "No, sir, there is nothing else." And he says, "Have a good day." Never asked for a driver's license, never asked for insurance, never asked for anything. So I guess what I'm getting at is that document is essentially what put me in equity. And when they saw that, the list of fees and that, because once you put it on the record, it doesn't matter where you put it on the record, they can see it. Every single time they run your name and your birth date, anything you put on the record is right in front of them. Okay. And so basically my conception of that's why I went in this direction, is because that to me was power. That to me showed how much power that has. And I didn't really understand it. And then I had a conversation with somebody, that's helping me out with some of these processes. And I asked her about it, and she said, "Here's the deal." She said, "You are a vessel lost at sea, and that document is not a document until it's on the docket. Okay. And it's lost at sea. Every piece of paper of anything you're going to write down or type out or whatever is a vessel." And she said, "Until you put it on the docket, it's not on the land. The only way that you can get on the land is by putting stuff on the record and using a docket." And so essentially that's what happened, was that I established myself as a man on the land and not lost at sea. And because I'm not lost at sea, their maritime commerce bullshit had no power. And so maybe that helps clear a few things up.
So I got a question real quick, Kent. It's Jamie, by the way. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So when you say on the record, you mean like going down to the court and putting it like on the record, or recording it somehow? I mean, not going down to the court or the what is it, the county recorder?
Yeah, so most counties won't do it. I mean, they have to do it, but they won't. So the person that I work with, she shared with me that Pima County, Arizona, and Tucson will put anything on the record. Okay. So if you don't have a pending court case, you can't put stuff on the record in most places. So that's what I use. There is a county in Georgia. I think there's one in Texas. But there's very few counties that will put anything on the record, but I know Pima County will.
And it's the document that we're putting on the record, basically the document that just says that we're basically a man or woman on the land and we're not lost at sea. Is that the document you're talking about exactly?
The one that I did is called, it's one that I've been emailing everybody, and it's lawful claim of title.
Okay.
And that's the one. And then I also put my list of fees, and the list of fees I put on is 19 pages. And those are the two main things that I put on the record that I saw results immediately.
Okay. Could I also receive that email, please?
Sure. Just
Thank you so much.
in the In the Telegram, just send me your email address.
Okay, thank you. I think I already posted it in the chat, but I'll send it again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, is that the document you said you would send to anyone that left their emails?
Yep.
Where would it come from? I'm sorry. I put mine in there, but I don't know if I received it.
Kent.stark1001@gmail is my email.
Okay, thank you.
And you guys, just a quick note. I highly recommend that whatever templates you get from anybody, that you really dive deep into the words that are being spoken, so that if you're ever challenged in court regarding these documents, you know how to stand in your square and defend yourself, because they will try you 150%. So make sure you're not just, putting your name in and putting it on the record without knowing what you're putting on the record. Get the Black's Law Dictionary and go through every word that you think you understand, but you may not understand, because the words that we use are not the words they use. So just be aware.
Yeah, I've been having to go through, every word, even words like, even I'm just learning about syntax grammar. Just like 2 weeks ago, I had no idea syntax grammar even existed before a few weeks ago. It's mind blowing. So words that we really think means one thing does not mean that to these people.
Yeah, it's a spell. English language is a spell. And it's designed to put you in slavery. It's not the language they speak. Latin, I don't know if you guys know any of this stuff, but Latin is actually the Etruscan Empire language in reverse. And the Etruscans came from Persia. So all this stuff started in Persia and Babylon. All this stuff, they did all this stuff. They had courts. The College of Cardinals is from Babylon. The god that they worshipped at Babylon was Dagon, and he had the same hat on as the Pope does. Like all this stuff goes all the way back to there. And this language that we speak is a spell. And you have to learn how to manipulate it the way they do in order to have power. What is so profound about what these things that we're trying to do is that when we're doing documents, when we're filing documents, instead of like going and standing in a court, because I'll promise you, some of you may be able to go to court and win, but I can't. Every single time I've fought anything in court, I lose. Okay, so I don't go to court. They threaten me. They're like, I had these 2 tickets in Atlanta for disorderly conduct, and they keep threatening to put a bench warrant out for me. And I just keep filing paperwork, and they've never put a bench warrant out for me. They haven't never come to get me. They've never done anything. So I just don't, for me, I just don't do it. I don't go to court. And it's just like, to me, it's like having that understanding, but I can't do it in court. So I have to write these documents. I have to find templates and do the stuff and file this, these things, because because I'm not as efficient in the law. It's easier for me to do it right if I can write it out instead of say it. And I don't know if that helps anyone.
And realistically, we're never supposed to go to court. We hold court on paper. Paper is held wherever you are. I don't care if you're in the freaking toilet. That's your court. You are the law, so you hold court wherever you want to hold court. And 99.9% of the time, it will be on paper. If they pull you into their jurisdiction, it's done so by your consent. So when they ask you what your name is and you give it to them, you've given them jurisdiction. When they say, do you understand? You now stand under their jurisdiction. So you never understand anything.
When you get a lawyer, you give them jurisdiction. When you plead, even not
Right.
guilty, you give them jurisdiction. That's why I don't go to court. Because as soon as you as soon as you willfully go to court and you say, I challenge jurisdiction, he's going to say, well, you're here, aren't you? So the only way that I'm going to court is kicking and screaming.
Or
They're
you
just drag me in there.
Or you say, I am here by special visitation. By special visitation, by special divine visitation. I am here to set off, settle, and close the matter. There is no controversy. That's it. Because there is no controversy. They're getting paid regardless.
Yep.
Your job is just to settle the account for the principal, because that's who they're after. They're not after you. They're not coming for you. If you ever get a bench warrant, all you have to do is file an abatement. That's it.
Yep.
They're done.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm just chiming in. Could you say them last few sentences before how you should appear in court? I did hear you about the part with the abatement.
Sure.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
It's okay. It's Suzanne.
Oh, yes, Suzanne.
So if you have to ever make an appearance in court, which you shouldn't ever have to, because I was saying that a court is held on paper. That's why it's called paperwork, because you make the paper work. That's why it's called paperwork. So if you're ever pulled in and you choose to go and appear, you are appearing by special visitation, by special divine visitation. If the judge ever asks you your name, you don't identify with graven images. My name is whatever you want to call me, amicus curiae, which means the friend of the court. You want to call me whatever you want, but I do not identify with graven images, which means I am not the dead person you're looking for. They call me Suzanne of the whoever tribe. And that's it. You don't grant your name to the court. You reserve your rights. If you're in consumer law, if you're in equity, you don't ever reserve your rights. You are the rights. You just don't identify with it. You're here by special visitation.
I'm more so in consumer law, so I hear you and I understand what you're saying.
So yeah, so you want to reserve, if you're in consumer law, you can really just say, hey, I grant my name to the court for return of all my rights, titles, and interests. For future return on my rights, titles, and interests. You're going to grant them your name. And you're going to reserve your rights. In equity, you just don't give them a name. Because you don't have one. We're not names. They gave us names. Your soul has a body. Your body doesn't have a soul. So and then once again, whenever they ask you, do you understand? You don't understand anything. Well, I can speak to you in my vernacular, but I don't think your vernacular is going to match with mine. So what language are we speaking? You have to be savvy with them, because those judges know the law back and forth. And they'll catch you and they'll bring you into jurisdiction. They're going to try. And then if they ever deny you something, everything is biblical. So everything is 3 times. So if they keep asking you your name, they're going to ask you 3 times. Everything is 3 times. On the 3rd time, you win. As long as you stand your ground and you stay, just make sure you know who you are when you walk in there. And you're there to set off, settle, and close the matter. There is no argument. There is no jurisdiction. There is no nothing. You're just there to set off, settle, and close the matter.
So one of the things that you have to remember is that you're trying to not be an infant. And because you're trying to not be an infant, you can't act like one. When you act like one, when you go into the court and you give them jurisdiction or you tell them you understand or whatever, I mean, you have to be of sound mind, and you have to be of your own legal accord, which means that you have to know the law. And if you go in the court mumbling and not knowing what you're doing and not knowing what you're saying, they're just going to you just made yourself an infant. And so that's the other thing, is you have to behave with confidence. So if you can't, and that's what I'm kind of saying, is that, like, if you can't behave with confidence in court, don't go. You know, because like, I would say that's like 65% of it, is just being able to know what you're doing. And but again, you don't have to go. A lot of the, I've been, as long as I've been doing this, like, I haven't been in a courtroom. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they charge me with. I don't care if they pull me over. I don't care. I'm not going unless they drag me in there. I've seen some success. I've watched a lot of videos on this. I've seen some success where an individual went in there, and he said, "I'm here." They said, "Are you so and so?" He says, "No, I am this name, the real person. I'm here on special appearance, and I'm here in sui juris in proprietà persona, which means in my own person, in my own legal mind." And he said, "I want to know who the afflicted party is." And they said, "The state." And he says, "No, state can't be afflicted. It's a corporate fiction." He's like, "I want to see the complaint of the damaged party." And they dismissed it. They sent him out. They sent him packing. Gave him his money back. Gave him his bail money back. Gave him everything. So that was a case where, like, I've seen, a video where it went in the right direction. I've never tried that because I don't know. I just feel like that the only way I'm going to stay out of it is just to stay out. Is to stay out of the courtrooms. So it's just my opinion.
And just to clarify, you guys are never persons. You're not a natural person. You're not a person, period. You're never a person. Look that word up in Blacks. A person is an entity. It's a dead entity. You guys are living, sentient beings.
It says monster in one of them.
Exactly. Ridiculous.
So,
but you're never a person.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'm in and out, muting in and out. I got my newborn baby, so I really appreciate the information.
No problem, Julian. My pleasure.
Yes, thank you, Susan. Do you mind if we message you? Are you in the chat as well?
I am. You, like I said, you can PM me whenever you want. I'm open to
Okay,
helping
thank
everybody
you.
here. No problem.
So yeah, that's it. I've been at it about an hour, so we probably need to get off here. You can email me or message me anything. I'm gonna set up 2 more of these so that you can get into some of the other stuff. I just want to continue to irradiate that that you're all smart people. You all deserve to be free, and to just use the things that people put in front of you to establish that, and to get confident in who you are. And there's no portion of this that you can't get. There's no portion of this that you can't understand or be a part of. Just be strong in yourself and do and go through those motions and figure this stuff out. And good things will come, because this is how God intended you. The world that we've been living in is not what God intended. This freedom is where God intended you to be. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate everybody. And again, don't hesitate to reach out.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good night.